Hi guys, and welcome to Odds on Premier League. Let's analyze the 13th match day, in this case in the middle of the week, and we have Liverpool Tottenham at Anfield, Klopp versus Mourinho, everything with Tom Williams, but I also want to know your opinion, so please leave a comment below and you will have the chance to win a £10 free bet with Novibet. Besides, if you enjoyed the video, do not forget to click on the like button, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get all the notifications. And now let's listen to all the predictions of Tom. We had an amazing weekend in the Premier League, and only 2 days later we are going to enjoy the 13th match day with Tom Williams. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Eduardo.
We had so many surprises. Liverpool, Tottenham couldn't win. We got very bored in the Manchester derby, and now, Tom, we have Liverpool Tottenham in this match day. But let's start with the games on Tuesday, and the first one is very interesting as well. Wolverhampton, Chelsea, both teams lost in the weekend. I was very surprised seeing Wolves losing at home against Aston Villa. Even João Moutinho was sent off. So 2 games without scoring for the Wolves. They have to bounce back against Chelsea, losing 1-0 against Everton. Probably they didn't deserve even that loss. They hit the post several times, and probably here, Tom, we should see like a very tight game. It's 2 of the best defenses in the Premier League, especially Chelsea.
Yeah, that's my expectation, that it'll be a tight game. I think what we've seen from Wolves in their last 2 matches, but particularly the game against Aston Villa, is just how much they'll miss Raul Jimenez, their centre forward, who is out for what looks like it's going to be a pretty lengthy amount of time. And it was striking in that Villa game, the amount of times Wolves put crosses into the box, almost as if they were expecting Jimenez to still be there. And there's no one else in the Wolves squad who attacks the ball in the same way that he does. And I think that is going to be a major issue for Wolves going forward. But as you say, they're very tight defensively. And overall, only 2 teams have had home games this season that have produced fewer goals than Wolves have. Sheffield United and Burnley, 2 other teams who struggle for goals, and Burnley have actually played 1 game fewer. There's only been 12 goals scored in Wolves' home matches to date. Chelsea, another team who are very solid defensively, but who came unstuck at Goodison Park last time out. And I think if you look across their forward line, not everyone is firing. Olivier Giroud's in a good bit of form, but Timo Werner hasn't quite produced the goods yet. They're obviously missing Hakim Ziyech. Christian Pulisic is coming back from injury. So all that, allied to the fact that Wolves are so solid, makes me think this will probably be quite a low-scoring affair. So I'd be looking at something like under 2 goals, and you can get odds on Oddspedia of 2.63 on there being under 2 goals in this one.
If there are actually 2 goals, we will have our money back. The victory for Chelsea is paid only around 1.7. So I think it's also very low, especially because Wolves is always a tough team to beat. And seeing what we saw about the Blues against Everton last weekend, it should be easier for Man City. They face West Brom this season. I think the citizens, they are winning comfortably, let's say, all the bottom teams tables, but they are struggling a lot with the big names in the season. We saw it in the derby of Manchester. I think we all got pretty bored, and it's pretty disappointing, I would say, also these kind of performances. Guardiola's men are losing chances to get into the title battle. Here the odds, Tom, is 1.12. Probably we should look at the Asian handicap for Man City, or maybe even Man City to not concede goals and win the game, because West Brom has been a disaster lately. Well, they lost 2-1 against Newcastle also during the weekend, and they also only have 6 points so far.
Yeah, we've seen from City in their 2 most recent home fixtures the 5-0 win against Burnley, the 2-0 win against Fulham, that when they're playing the teams at the bottom of the table, they don't tend to have too many problems. And certainly defensively, they're in a pretty solid run of form. It's been a while since they conceded a goal in the 3 games with clean sheets in a row in the Premier League, and they've been similarly solid of late defensively in the Champions League. So yeah, I think we're looking for a slightly more creative bet here, flush with the success of having predicted that Southampton would beat Sheffield United 3-0 last weekend. I'm going to go for another predicted scoreline, City to beat West Brom 4-0, and you can get odds on that of 9.
That's a risky one. Let's say going for the correct score. If you want to go for the Asian handicap for Man City, we find the line at minus 2.5 goals. We have odds at 1.94 right now on Oddspedia.com. That means that we win our bet only if Man City wins for 3 goals. So as you can see, the odds are very, very low. Everyone is expecting a real heavy victory for Man City. Probably we don't expect the same in the next one. Arsenal, Southampton. You were saying last weekend, Tom, that the heat is going to be very close to Arteta if Arsenal loses against Burnley, and that happened. So probably Arteta's job is at risk if they don't win one victory only in the last 8 games, and they host Southampton, a very, very difficult one. You just said it, you predicted correctly the result against Sheffield, and they are 4th in the table. They have 10 points more than Arsenal. Will we ever see a victory again of Arsenal or not before the year ends?
I mean, it's hard to see how things could conceivably get any worse for Arsenal. I mean, to lose 1-0 at home to Burnley, shot-shy Burnley, Xhaka sent off, for a moment of madness. Mohamed El-Neni could and perhaps should have followed him. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scoring the own goal that settled the game. And things aren't going to get easier with Southampton, who, as you say, are on a decent run of form, scoring a lot of goals. And Arsenal are really struggling, particularly in front of goal. 1 goal in their last 5 league games, and even that was in a losing cause in their 2-on defeat against Wolves. So I don't think it would be any surprise whatsoever if Southampton were to pick up all 3 points here. And given Arsenal's difficulties in front of goal, why not something like Southampton to win to 0, which you can get at odds of 6.5?
The victory for Southampton is 3.3. A good option could be Asian handicap 0, for instance, for Southampton 2.34. But anything back in Southampton actually gives us very good odds, as Arsenal is the favorite. So I think the value, of course, is betting on the Saints here, who are doing really, really way better than the Gunners. And well, let's see what happened in the north of London. The next game we have in the middle of the week is Leeds Newcastle. We saw Leeds losing against West Ham on Friday, the second game in a row that they suffer a comeback because they took the lead, and it's only 1 victory in the last 6 games for the Bielsa's men, and now they are really favorite. Tom, I'm kind of surprised to see these low odds for Leeds, 1.81 against Newcastle, who got the victory against West Brom in the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, as we've said before, Leeds is such a difficult team to, when it comes to predicting results, because they're always eye-catching when you watch them, but their recent form has been really poor and very up and down. And at home, their record is poor this season. Only 1 win in 6 home games, and some heavy defeats at home as well. Thinking particularly back to that 4-1 defeat against Leicester not too long ago. And Newcastle have picked up some useful results of late. They've beaten Everton, they won away at Crystal Palace, a couple of late goals there, ground out a victory against West Brom last weekend, having had the previous weekend off because of that COVID outbreak. So they're not quite firing on all cylinders, but there is a sort of there's a kind of gritty toughness to Newcastle, which I think will serve them well. I find this one quite a difficult one to call, but I think it will be open. Leeds games are always open. Newcastle aren't great defensively, but have real threats in attack. You know, we've seen that Dwight Gale scoring that great header against West Brom. Callum Wilson's made a great start to life in the North East. Joe Ellington has picked up his ideas a little bit. You've got Miguel Almiron as well. So I think this could be quite an entertaining fixture. So I'd be looking at something like over 3 goals, which you can get at odds of 2.38 on Oddspedia. And I think, given the profiles of these two teams, I think that's a decent bet.
Yeah, it's very open, this game, but the value for sure is in Newcastle. The odds for Leeds are really, really low, 1.8. And if we take a look at the Newcastle's victory, is 4.7. So even the double chance for Newcastle, draw or victory, is 2.15. I think these are also good options. Way better than for sure back in Leeds with the odds at 1.8. I wouldn't recommend that. And a very, very eye-catching game is the next one, Leicester City, Everton. Leicester, they got a very comfortable victory against Brighton, 3-0, although Brighton, they had their chances, and Vardy is on fire, 10 goals in the season so far, second victory in a row. It was a very, very good weekend for them, with Tottenham and Liverpool drawing. And Everton, finally they bounced back, defeating Chelsea with that penalty score by Sigurdsson. Here the odds are for Leicester, but it's very balanced. We know that Leicester struggles at home, apart from that victory last weekend against Brighton. Probably a difficult one to call as well, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, that home defeat that Leicester suffered against Fulham is going to make me wary about backing them at home for the rest of the season, because I mean, you know, they had other disappointing results at home prior to that, but that one was a surprise. And yes, they dismantled Brighton pretty effectively, but I'm still not 100% sure about backing Leicester, particularly because Everton got that really important win against Chelsea on the board. You know, is that going to be the result that helps them round this corner and get out of this disappointing run of results? You know, perhaps. So I'm going to sit on the fence on this one, and I am backing the draw at 3.82 on Oddspedia.
If Leicester wins and Liverpool and Tottenham draw at Anfield, the Foxes will be topping the table actually in the Premier League. So this is a very good chance for Brendan Rodgers' men to be on the top of the table and being almost in Christmas time still, of course, in the top 4 and even fighting for the title. For sure, the title is not on stake in the next one, but the relegation is Fulham Brighton. Fulham is getting better and better. They drew against Liverpool, but probably they deserve the victory. The Cordoba rate scored a very, very beautiful goal, and a victory here put them out of the relegation. They have only 2 points less than Brighton, who are getting in trouble with their second defeat in a row. But if we check the odds, we see Brighton being favorite actually, 2.6 here for the South England team.
Yeah, I think my temptation here would be to back Fulham in this one. They were so impressive against Liverpool. I mean, you know, if you'd been shown that game and not told any of the context, you'd never have guessed that Fulham were struggling against relegation. Incredible work rate, some really high quality football, and a real constant threat on the attack, and slightly unfortunate with the manner of the equaliser, the handball, and then a pretty scuffy Mo Salah penalty. So assuming that they're not feeling too down in the dumps about that, and they can sort of, you know, get it out of their systems and approach this game against Brighton in the same way, I can see Fulham coming out on top here. I think particularly because, as you say, Brighton's own form is patchy. I mean, it looks like they're going to have Tariq Lamptey back, who's a player I absolutely love, and he makes a big difference to them. But I think given you know the momentum Fulham have got from the victory against Leicester and from that battling performance against Liverpool, I think they'll take this one.
The odds are very appealing, around 3. I think also the value here is for the home team. If you want to be a little bit more cautious, you can bet on Fulham Asian Handicap 0, 2.12. So if they draw we get our money back in case of an insurance, no? And the game of the games this match day is the first against the second, Klopp against Mourinho or Liverpool against Tottenham. You just said it, how Liverpool struggle against Fulham. Probably all these injuries, all these games are affecting the Reds, and Tottenham also, they conceded a draw in a pitch that is always complicated, like the one in Crystal Palace. We saw another goal scored by Harry Kane, but probably they were even a bit unlucky. They conceded that late goal against Crystal Palace. And Tom, I was checking the head-to-head stats. We see how Liverpool is really favorite, 1.83 in the odds. And the last victory at Anfield for the Spurs was in 2011, and even Modric scored a goal in that game.
Yeah, I mean, that tells you how long ago it was. Liverpool clear favourites. They're favourites at home against anyone they play. And there have been times this season when they've turned it on. You look at their two most recent home results, 3-0 at home to Leicester, 4-0 at home to Wolves, teams that habitually cause the top club's problems, and Liverpool just brushed them aside. That is an entirely conceivable outcome here as well. But at the same time, Spurs are on this fantastic run of form and have played a lot of their major rivals recently and done really well. Beating Manchester City, beating Arsenal. Okay, Arsenal are having a terrible time of it, but there's always an extra edge to the North London derby. And in the middle of that, keeping that clean sheet in the 0-0 draw at Spurs. So they've shown that they can keep it tight against the top teams in the division. We know how Jose Mourinho likes to operate in these games, ideally get an early goal and then sit back and counter-attack. But even if they don't get an early goal, I think they'll be compact. They'll use the pace they have on the break through, Aurier and Reguilon, the fullbacks, and through Son Heung-min, who's in a great bit of form. So I think this is going to be quite a tight one. And as I've said previously, my kind of go-to predicted scoreline for these sorts of hard-to-call matches is always 1-1. Both teams coming into the game off the back of 1-1 draws, so they've got recent experience of that scoreline. And you can get odds of 9 on a 1-1 draw on Oddspedia. And I just think the fact that Spurs are on this good run, the fact that Liverpool struggle as they did against Fulham, I can see Spurs picking up at least a point here.
The draw is around 4. Right now on Oddspedia.com, and even the under 2.5 goals market, if we think it's going to be a tight and defensive game, is 2.34. Another option for a really good game that can mark the season, depending on who is winning. The first position is on stake in a very, very interesting season in the Premier League, as we are seeing also in the major competitions in Europe. Everything is very tight, and now we have like a good marathon of games in the Christmas period in the UK. So for sure, a lot of things to be decided. In the last game of Wednesday, we have a London derby again. West Ham, Crystal Palace. West Ham is still really in form, impressive this season. 6 right now in the table. They won 1-2 against Leeds. You also predicted this correctly. 4 victories in the last 5 games. They came back actually against Leeds, and even their only defeat was against Man U, and probably they didn't even deserve that. And we just said how Crystal Palace is also a competitive team with Hodgson. So I think probably, Tom, this is a difficult call, a difficult derby to know which one is gonna be the winner. The odds for West Ham are nice, I would say 2.2 actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to back against West Ham this season, given that their form's been so impressive, and there is this real sense of cohesion when you watch them, that players know what they're doing and they have different ways of going about matches. But at the same time, Palace have shown some really eye-catching form of late. They're a hard team to rely on. They go from putting 4 goals past Leeds to losing 1-0 away at Burnley. They lost at home to Newcastle recently. But their 2 most recent games, notably with Wilfried Zaha back in the starting 11, who makes such a difference to the way that they play. That 5-1 win away at West Brom, and then hard-earned but deserved 1-1 draw at home to Spurs. So, yeah, Tough one to call. I'm going to sit on the fence again, and I'm going to back the draw in this one. And you can get odds at 3.54 or thereabouts on Oddspedia on this one finishing level.
Another draw. Always the draws are paid really well. And moving on Thursday, we have Aston Villa, Burnley. Aston Villa were going down and down, but it looks like they are bouncing back. Especially, it was very important their victory last weekend against Wolverhampton with that penalty score by El Ghazi. But at home, they are struggling. Actually, 3 straight defeats, and now they host Burnley. Usually, Burnley are really poor away from home, but we just said it, how they beat Arsenal in the first victory in the Emirates in 40 years. Aston Villa is really favorite to win this game. 1.78 only the odds for the Villains here.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Villa's home form is a concern. They've not won at home. They've not picked up a point at home since that incredible 7-2 victory over Liverpool on October the 4th. So it tells you how much they've been struggling. They've lost to Leeds, to Southampton, and to Brighton. As you mentioned again, Burnley going into this off the back of that smash and grab 1-0 win away at Arsenal. But I think Villa will take a huge amount of confidence from the way that they beat Wolves. They were under the cosh. Their goalkeeper ends up being voted man of the match, Emi Martinez, and I think that will have really helped, because they went into that on the back of consecutive defeats. They'd had their game against Newcastle postponed. They had 2 weeks of sort of sitting around kicking their heels. So I think that will have given them a lot of belief. Burnley really struggle for goals away from home. Only scored 4 times on the road this season. Only Sheffield United have found the net on fewer occasions away from home. So I think it'll be quite a tight one, but I'm backing Villa to edge this. And given Burnley's goal scoring problems on the road, I'd be looking at something like Villa to win to 0. And you can get odds on Oddspedia of 3.13 on that.
Well, that's a good one to find a bit higher odds, because the Villa victory only is paid 1.78. So if we want to make a little bit more of money, let's back Aston Villa to win 2-0. Then we have the last game of this 13th match day. Sheffield United, Man United. The Red Devils traveling to the bottom team of the table. They've only picked 1 point so far in the season. Sheffield United, last weekend they lost against Southampton. They look poor and poorer every weekend. They are actually the worst team in Europe with only 1 point, at least among the big leagues. And Man United, at least they didn't lose in the derby, so no defeats in the last 5 games in the Premier League, and actually 4 of them were victories, so the run is not that bad in the Premier League. I'm sure you will be backing Man United here.
Yeah, I mean, Sheffield United are on course to become the worst team in Premier League history in terms of a single season performance, which is incredible when you think how impressive they were throughout last season. Manchester United, very sleepy performance in the derby, but they've avoided defeat, which could have been costly for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And they've been great on the road this season. They seem to play with a little bit more freedom away from home. You have to back them to come out on top here. And because they're such strong favourites, we need to be a bit more creative with our bet. So perhaps something like Man United to win both halves, which you can get at odds of 4. And I think just given their away form and given how badly Sheffield United have been toiling, I can see Manchester United, that is, winning this one without too much difficulty.
I'm going to give you another option. The Asian handicap -1 for Man United is paid 1.81. So if they win for at least 2 goals, we win our bet. And if they only win for 1 goal, we get our money back, so that wouldn't be a bad option, of course. So Skier Men have to win against Sheffield United. Then we have everything, Tom, except your ACCA of the middle of the week in this case.
So my midweek ACCA selection is Manchester City, Fulham, Aston Villa, and Manchester United.
All right, that pays good actually, 7.82. So some money we can make if we back Man City, Fulham, Aston Villa, and Man United. Then thanks, Tom. Premier League is not stopping, so this week we will analyze the 14th Premier League match day on Friday then. Thank you, Tom.
My pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Tom predicted some draws, especially in that Liverpool, Tottenham, Manchester teams are gonna win. At least this is what he thinks, but I also want to know your opinion. So please let me know whatever you think in the comment section, and you will have the chance to win a £10 free bet with Novibet. Just write anything and you will participate in the draw. And remember, if you enjoyed the video, press the like button, subscribe to our channel, and do not forget to click on the bell to get all the notifications. You can listen also to all our videos in our podcast. And this week on Friday, we will be back with more odds on Premier League.